Okay, so welcome to Daniel's Downloads. 2023. Today's January 26th. For those of you that will listen to the recording later, I always like doing these talks because I wanted to share my top 10 favorites. And they may not be in order of what we sell the most of or what maybe you particularly use in your practice, because I wanted to share some of the things I thought about of what's going on, always timely, of what's being utilized, what's needed, what you ask of me to help with. And so these are my top products for application, things to think about putting in your medicinary, maybe that you've never used before, because I'm going to talk about a few that you're very familiar with, refresh those, but I'm also going to talk about a few that are like, never would have thought of that. And those are the ones I really hope to, click a silver bullet for you. And so today we're going to go over 5 of them plus a bonus one, and we'll cover all that material. You'll always get the slides later because there is quite a bit of material in the slides. So let's dive into it because I'm very conscious of your valuable time. I always thank you all for coming on. We've got a great crowd today. For those of you that do know me, I appreciate you being here again. There's a lot of new names, and that really is exciting that I get to share what I've learned from all of you. I've always said I've never had an original idea, and I'll show you why, but I love to reference the people that have been mentors of mine for 30 years. I just talked to a customer today, and we said, gosh, we've known each other for 20 years in this industry, and we've bounced and shared ideas. And so that's what I want to share with you today. And so I'm going to get to that next slide. There we go. So you know about ADP. We've talked about it many times, but let's refresh this one because there's some really solid science here. So ADP, that's a patented product of ours, stands for anti-dysbiosis product. Now it's an emulsified, sustained release oil of oregano. What we know about normal oil of oregano in a gel cap that maybe some of your patients or your clients they take and they found it at here or there or the health food store or Costco or something. Regular oil of oregano, when ingested, is very irritative. It burns the villi of the GI, very irritative. What we did, and this is a gold standard product for biotics research long before my time, and in my clinical days, this is where I learned about this product. You have antimicrobial, antifungal, anti-parasitic activity when you look at the literature, you look at the research with oregano oil. But the difference here, again, is it's emulsified. We've talked about this, and I'm going to show you slides later about the emulsification process. When you emulsify a fat soluble, so oregano oil, we put it into a very small particle size, not nanotechnology. Be aware of that word. We're going to talk about that throughout the talk here, but emulsified particle size. And then we slow release it with celery fiber. So you get great uptake lymphatically, but you also get great coverage through the GI. We do dissolution times on this tablet. So it's designed to dissolve slowly through the GI so you get coverage through the whole area. If somebody, and I've had this happen, says, I'm seeing these white tablets in my stool, don't panic. Don't say this product doesn't work. It's not working for them. They have a very high transit time. And then we need to go look at other factors such as sympathetic dominance, which we're going to talk about today as well. Sympathetic dominance, digestion doesn't work. Things fly right on through. So look at those factors. So I put a note here, sore throat, gargle with ADP water. You can take the ADP tablet, put it in a glass of water. The oil will release. The tablet won't necessarily dissolve much. It'll get like a little fuzziness of slowly breaking down. But gargle with that water throughout the day because, again, of these properties right here. Antimicrobial, antifungal, antiparasitic. Sore throat, consider that one as a gold standard. Here's a study we did years ago with Dr. Mark Force, who was in Scottsdale here, Bill Sparks and Robert Ronzio, who are with Biotics. And so we did an inhibition of enteric parasites by emulsified oil of oregano. And the main part of this study was on Blastocystis hominis, and you can see it down in here. If any of you want that study, I'm happy to supply the whole study. But if you look at the German literature on oil of oregano, it's very anti-parasitic. And I feel personally, in my years of doing this, I think we underdiagnose or undertreat parasitic infections. Then we get into oil of oregano, Mexican oregano, as an antiviral activity. Timely discussion. Many of you have maybe seen this slide before, but let's just keep this real brief. There are certain words I don't want to put out on a recording, but here is RSV. And here's the component of oregano oil at the bottom of the slide, justified for more detailed studies. These were in vitro studies, but very positive results for certain viruses with oregano oil. I have a doctor down the road who, anytime a patient comes in and says, I'm just not sure what's going on, I'm not sure how I'm feeling, they get a bottle of ADP, take 2 to 3 times a day. You can't go wrong, really. You just can't. I mean,
That's a lot of it.
All right, so next one. Again, Biotics calls me the lithium guy and the butyrate guy. I love this product. And we've talked about it, but there's, again, a lot of new names, and it's just a good refresher because this is honestly, because I call this the bang for the buck. What I'm showing you today, supplement-wise, is the bang for the buck. ADP, cost-effective, the results, the therapeutic value, the broad spectrum that you can utilize that product is phenomenal. The same thing goes with this product because it covers so many bases, it's so therapeutic, and it's absolutely a unique approach to the anxiety, the depression, the mood disorders. Not everybody's utilizing a form of lithium. Nobody has a form of lithium like this. So remember, we hydroponically grow free-form lithium into the plant tableting base. We sprout a plant, we tablet that plant. You have a whole food lithium. It is not bound to lithium carbonate, that's the pharmaceutical. It is not bound to lithium orotate, which all the other supplement companies do. And remember, I've mentioned that orotate molecule, that carrier molecule, is very large. You are at 150 micrograms of free-form lithium per tablet. If any of this information, you're looking for more details or anything, I've got a computer full on studies on lithium, a computer full of them. So if you look here, here's this one of the studies that was done years ago. This was actually out of Texas, study of former drug users, 400 micrograms of lithium per day as a placebo. In 4 weeks, the lithium group, mood scores increased in happiness, friendliness, and energy. I think you can think of a large percent of the population that could use this product. A very large percent of the population. I drove my son to school today. I was about ready to hand out bottles along the freeway. And it's not a product, if you've never experienced L-Isozyme Forte before, it's not a product that suppresses you and you feel like you took a Xanax or a Valium or anything. It's not a product that, knocks you out. It just makes you not so reactive. It slows the sympathetic, parasympathetic, sympathetic activity. It slows that sympathetic activity down. In that study, placebo had no change. In fact, happiness declined. So 400 micrograms, 150 micrograms is one of our tablets. 2 is 300. So 3 to 4 tablets a day. And generally, that's my recommended dose, 2 BID, 2 twice a day. That's a huge positive result. Again, low lithium equals sympathetic dominance, constant mind overstimulation. I call it the monkey minder that wakes up at night thinking about things. The anxiety. This is a different approach for people that we've not tried in many, many cases. We've looked at the theanines, we've looked at the 5-HTPs as practitioners, and it works for some people. But then there's that population that they go, I just need something else. Dr. Robertson, my mentor, he would, back in Wisconsin, the mom that drove the minivan taking the kids all over town, he had them put lithium in their purse. He goes, this will help you, because they would come to him and say, Dr. Robertson, I just can't take it. I got 4 kids and I'm busy. This is a nice product to just bring that down. Dr. Mark Force, who I've got to give credit where credit is due, he's taught me a ton about lithium. He called it the Walmart syndrome, fear of crowds and busy crowded places, those fluorescent lights flickering at a rate that you don't see, but the neurology does. Overstimulation. So he wrote an article called The Autonomic Nervous System. I'm going to attach that article in my follow-up email to all of you when this is done, because it gives a lot of silver bullet ideas of how to bring in balance, sympathetic, parasympathetic. What does lithium do? It modulates the activity of glutamate, dopamine, there's your serotonin, there's your GABA, there's your acetylcholine for brain function, and glycine. All of this is aided by lithium. So when you are trying to do individual pathways of serotonin or trying to help the GABA pathway, if you cover this product and help them, you're covering a lot of bases. Again, the bang for the buck, you're covering a lot of areas. Look at this study in 27 counties in Texas. The reason I refer to Texas, and I have all along in all my classes on this, is that Texas has the highest amount of lithium in their water supply in certain counties in Texas. So the population of those with higher lithium intakes of up to 2 milligrams daily had a significant decrease in the incidence of homicide, suicide, arrest for opioids and cocaine, and violent criminal behavior. I apologize, I am not, and you know, I'm not the greatest PowerPoint person. The study is not there. I'm happy to supply that study again, if for people that love those references, and I should have put that reference there. But that is a powerful statement. I mentioned to you before in classes, and those of you that are new, I have scanned in this laptop an article done by Townsend Letters several years ago on low-dose lithium therapy, and it covered the spectrum of what lithium was originally brought out for was for gout, but then it goes into ADD, ADHD in kids. And it ends in the article with dementia and Alzheimer's because it prevents amyloid plaque formation. It's a wonderful article if you're interested in further studying lithium. So let's look at the chart. You know, Dr. Force, mentor of mine, he was my Monday night gym buddy. He was my chiropractor. He was a biochemical, he is a biochemical genius. He's up in Oregon now. He has fed me so much information. I really am indebted to him as a dear mentor. And it allows us to learn more and share more on this. And so here's some of his charts on parasympathetic, sympathetic. And he said, Daniel, if I knew what I knew today, 30 years ago, I'd be able to treat patients better because so much happens in sympathetic. And so many of us are in sympathetic. He was my biggest lithium user for his patients, not personally, for his patients. He used a lot of L-Isozyme Forte. And if you look at it, if we're in sympathetic, digestion doesn't work well, elimination doesn't work well. Look at tendency to constipation. I get that question a lot. What do you have for constipation? And we've looked at magnesium and vitamin C flushes and all these things. But if they're in sympathetic, they're constricted. Look at libido. We've talked about that. If you're a naturopath listening in and you're doing hormone therapy, if they are in sympathetic, all the hormones in the world, they may feel better, they may feel more energy, but that other aspect of their life just isn't fully waking up. So look at balancing parasympathetic, sympathetic, and considering lithium as one of your options. Here's the rest of the chart. Look at heart rate, sympathetic. Blood pressure, high blood pressure and sympathetic. Bronchioles, urinary bladder, digestive enzymes decrease the secretions. We don't digest our food in sympathetic. When I talk to you out there one-on-one, you go, yeah, rest and digest. We all know that. But we need to practice that for our patients because this is what shifts so many things. When we are in sympathetic, pain perception is higher. So if you're a chiropractor or a naturopath or a practitioner working on somebody, acupuncturist, working on somebody for pain, but they're in sympathetic, you only can do so much for them. If you would look at balancing sympathetic, parasympathetic, bringing up parasympathetic tone, that calm, their pain perception won't be as elevated. All right, that's lithium. That's parasympathetic, sympathetic, but we're going to go a little bit further with this. Now, this is not a product I've talked about a lot, but many of you are aware of it because I'm very, very passionate about back to the basics. We're guilty of it. We make these fandangled, fancy supplements with all these things in it, which are very effective. I've shared with you the ones that are very, very effective. But sometimes we need to go back a step. And sometimes certain individuals can only handle so much. This book I've shared with many of you, Thiamine Deficiency Disease, Dysautonomia, just what we talked about. Imbalance in the autonomic nervous system and high calorie malnutrition. This doctor right here who wrote this book is out of the Cleveland Clinic. I have this book right here. Read every page of it. You see my tabs. I got to share with you, just to give you an example, how solid this information is that I'm going to share with you. Chapter 3 alone has 222 different references that Dr. Lonsdale put together along with Chandler Mars. An absolute game changer. Again, I got a phone call driving to New Mexico years ago, and I was told, Daniel, you got to read this book. And I said, can you just give me the Cliff Notes? Daniel doesn't have a lot of time. You know how it is. And I was said, no, you got to read the book. So I bought the book. It's not a cheap book, but the value on one nutrient, yes, 300 some pages on one nutrient. But let me share you the silver bullets with you of why high dose thiamine. This goes back to the mentor of mine, Dr. Idenier, who I've worked for many, many years, always talked about thiamine. Here's why. Oh, by the way, here's your high calorie malnutrition. That actually depletes the thiamine. This is what, and you've seen this live, this is what our culture does. This is at Walmart. I mean, this is a real thing. And they have the chocolate flavor too, by the way, if you like that. But these are frozen, deep fried Twinkies. I say this every time because it shocks me that, but look at, enjoy them hot, warm them up in your microwave. That's high calorie malnutrition. But here, thiamine. So this is thiamine 50 milligrams of thiamine mononitrate. Let me share with you this before I go further into this slide. All thiamine mononitrate is not created equal. There are different grades of thiamine mononitrate. Ironically, yesterday, I was meeting with a naturopath in the West Valley who goes through a lot of thiamine 50 when I educated him on this process and shared the information. And we were back ordered for a while. You are all aware of our back orders. We had a couple, year and a half ago. And he went to a different brand. And he goes, Daniel, it doesn't work. And we got it back in stock. And he goes, oh, now it works. And I called Daryl DeLuca at Biotics Research, one of the founding members, vice president, who is the brilliant genius in supply, ingredients, and everything. He goes, it's not all created equal. So be aware of that when you're looking at your patients and they're saying, well, I tried that, but I didn't get the results. But they bought, the cheapest of the cheap. So thiamine is your gateway nutrient into the citric acid cycle. That's how Dr. Lonsdale talks about it. Here's an interesting little study he put in his book. Depleted by many prescriptions. Here's an example. Metformin, your type 2 diabetic drug, 48% reduction in ATP production. 48% reduction in ATP production. That is a massive drop of energy production on one drug. So he talks in his book about vaccine injury. He gives very powerful Gardasil cases. He talks about mold injury, Lyme. He even talks about what I call cells gone wild, cell hypoxia, Otto Warburg's work. And he shows cases of using high dose thiamine to wake these people up. They have been beat down energy-wise by fighting mold, fighting Lyme, fighting that injection. And it affected the mitochondria. And many of us have mitochondrial supplements. But here we got to hit a therapeutic dose. We got to hit them with a hammer sometimes. And he shows these cases of hitting them with a hammer. You're talking not 50 milligrams, not one of these a day, but up to 250, 350 milligrams a day. Write that down. 250 to 350 milligrams a day. And then you can back down to a maintenance dose of 1 a day. Here's your whole B vitamins and energy. Here's your citric acid cycle, highlighted in blue. This goes back so many years from me with back to the basics. When people say, gosh, I just don't have energy, I'm feeling fatigued. We think thyroid, we think hormones, we think adrenals, all very good things to look at. But we forget the basics. Are they on a multivitamin that has B vitamins in it? Or are they on just a standalone high quality B vitamin complex? Or do they need a potent B1 to boost the system? Look at all the places in the citric acid, highlighted in yellow, that the B vitamins come in. These are all these cofactor nutrients. The beauty of biochemistry and nutrition is all the cofactors that are in place. This is not a, one drug does this. We need all these synergistic cofactors. So what are we seeing subjectively? Less anxiety, less aggression, way more energy. I've seen with high-dose thiamine, because alcohol depletes thiamine dramatically, that cases of severe night sweats in alcoholics gone. And we're talking about balancing the autonomic nervous system, right in the title of the book, the dysautonomia. So if you've tried everything on some of your patients, your clients, and they're not getting the results you're looking for, think of things like we've just talked about: lithium, thiamine high dose, different kind of pathways, products that maybe we don't always remember and look at our shelf for. All right. Vitamin D. Why did I add this one? This one is because it's our biggest seller at Biotics Research globally. We did a hospital study, the treatment of hypovitaminosis D in infants and toddlers at Boston University. Children's Hospital Boston, Boston, Massachusetts. Here's your results. 1 drop daily of Biodemulsion Forte, 2,000 IUs, increased concentrations of vitamin D in deficient children by 202% in 6 weeks. Not all vitamin D is created equal. This is an emulsified vitamin D. It's in a drop. We do not, as everybody's asked me for, I want a chocolate flavor, I want a flavor. When you add a flavoring agent, you change the molecular size, you change the absorption rate. I don't know what to tell you. It tastes like, some people say it tastes like paste. I don't mind it, but drop it on the tongue, get the lymphatic uptake. Here's why. Vitamin D emulsification. Dr. Gilroy in Colorado did a study with us. In a clinical finding, reported that in 8-week supplementation of 4,000 IUs of vitamin D taken daily increased blood levels on an average of 106%, because you're getting quick uptake. These were Colorado firefighters. Look at their levels were on average at 27, which is way too low. Got them to 54, which is still too low in my opinion, but we had stopped the study there just to show that we could change things in that short of time. And then we've talked about micelle and nanotechnology. Now, why I wanted to bring this up again was with this vitamin D product. There are various definitions of the size of nanoparticles are used. The deliberate addition or exploitation of some novel nanoparticles in foods may raise health concerns. The reason I say this is we do not do nanotechnology for a faster delivery system, because right here raises health concerns. Years ago, I was in Tucson visiting a doctor, and he had a stack of books on his desk about the side effects of nanoparticle technology. Here it is. Not all emulsions are created equal. The particles of an emulsion can be measured or observed under a microscope. The smallest oil particle in an oil-water emulsion that are thermodynamically stable are 0.5 microns. Because oil particles will attract to each other, this is the oil particle limit using natural emulsifiers that can be prepared. I highlight natural in big bold letters because when we try to reduce the micron size, we leave the natural world to the synthetic emulsifiers to make that happen. Particles of less than 0.5 microns in such a system will aggregate and cause the emulsion system to separate or break down. So you've done this technology, you've tried to make it smaller, you used a synthetic, and now you've got a mess. So we use 0.5 micron natural emulsions. Here's the difference. Competitor, vitamin A, large particle, medium particle, small particle, highly inconsistent. Biotics Research, vitamin A, highly consistent particle size for really, really good uptake. All right. I don't think I've shared this story with many of you. And Biotics is just too quiet about this story. And I want you to think, when you look at my labels, I should say the Biotics Research labels, and you see on the label SOD and catalase, like in the zinc, the Z enzyme forte, you'll see at the bottom label, SOD and catalase. This is what we're going to talk about. This is a powerful component that you get as an extra benefit to our tableting base. If none of you have used Dismuzyme before, please, I've got something powerful to share with you. I love this story. I got to give credit here. Joe Bushes, the guy that does the Tuesday Minutes, the distributor in Chicago. I've known Joe for 30 years. Joe did all the paperwork on this one. And I'm going to share you Joe's work. But this is an absolutely, absolutely underutilized product. It is not a glamorous name. It's not a glamorous product if you look at the label. But now let me share you with the science with you. Researchers estimate that superoxide dismutase, SOD, is the 5th most prevalent enzyme in our body. And I apologize, I'm going to read these because these are powerful. SOD quenches or transforms the highly reactive superoxide radical, and it breaks it down into hydrogen peroxide and water, H2O2 and H2O. Catalase, then, part of this product, another primary antioxidant enzyme, changes the hydrogen peroxide down into oxygen and water. You are breaking down with those two ingredients the very strong superoxide radical. So some of the applications for SOD are free radical pathology, low white blood cells, rampant viral or bacterial infections, all forms of arthritis and inflammation, protection against radiation. Let me share with you, there was a case of an Epstein-Barr patient about 16 years ago, liver enzymes off the chart, totally fatigued, EBV off the chart, was put on this product in a powder form, tastes awful, but this is what you got to do for some of these cases. You can mix it in pineapple juice, make this note, mix it in pineapple juice or pear juice to make it taste the best, because you're going to take quite a bit. But it brought down those liver enzymes and got that EBV patient out of crisis. We had a Hep C case, a emergency room RN, with the exact same results. It brought down those titers by using Dismuzyme. So here's your Dismuzyme Plus is superoxide dismutase, SOD and catalase. So interest in SOD lost steam in the late 80s due to one study showing that SOD tablets would not raise blood levels. I want to share this with you because this is powerful. Biotics went back to look at the tablets that were available on the market that can, and plus we can accurately measure SOD in our laboratory. This was our baby. This was our specialty. They found that 50 available products on the market, only 10 actually contained SOD. And remarkably, Biotics had 8 of the 10. Now, that may seem like I'm touting us or we're a little bit biased. I'm just sharing the science because I know this product works. And this is why SOD got a bad rap in that one study a long time ago, because SOD really wasn't in the products that were utilized. So as for the study from the late 80s, it didn't show raised SOD because the product didn't test to contain SOD. So we later on went to show that you could raise the levels in blood. Years later, after the 80s, we brought in Dr. Dave into our laboratory, who worked for years with pharmaceutical companies in the jungles of Africa, isolated plant compounds. And he found, South America, I apologize. And he found that gram for gram, highlighted in red, gram for gram, the tableting base had the highest antioxidant capacity of any one single herb. So the filler in my tableting base yields significant antioxidant activity. So you're not just taking a zinc, 25 milligrams of zinc. You're also getting a very potent antioxidant with the SOD and catalase, our sprouted tableting base. The L-izyme forte that we talked about earlier, how we hydroponically grow lithium into the plant, we sprout the plant, that's SOD catalase. Look at these numbers. SOD is classified as a primary antioxidant and works synergistically with the well-known secondary antioxidants, such as vitamin C, A, and E. We're very familiar with those. But all the antioxidants, SOD is the most powerful. A single SOD molecule can neutralize thousands of free radicals, where the secondary antioxidants are a 1-to-1. Okay? So I don't want to get into all the numbers here, but 1 IU of SOD has a life of several days and catalyzes the elimination of billions of free radicals. This is the SOD and catalase. This is the dysmuzyme product as a standalone. So 20 micrograms, which is on a lot of our tablets, is 6.6 units or 132 units total. 132 units quelches over 132 billion oxidative reactions, and that's free as our tableting base. So the zinc again, the lithium, the list goes on. You can look in the catalog, you can look at the products you currently have on your shelves and say, wow, there's the SOD catalase Daniel just talked about. So a review. 1 IU of SOD has a life of several days and catalyzes elimination of billions of free radicals. So a tablespoon, this is the one that I said doesn't taste the greatest, find it something to mix in. I had a meeting last week with some doctors that work in the oncology arena, and they mix it into pizza sauce because they can't do the juice because they are obviously no sugar for their active neoplastic patients. So a tablespoon of dysmuzyme yields 1,200 micrograms. So in a nutshell, 1 tablespoon would quench well over 8 trillion free radicals. You're going to get these slides for review, but 1 tablespoon, a very, very potent antioxidant. If you have viral cases that are not clearing, EBV, CMV, Hep C, the list goes on, stuck in the liver, wherever they are, look at utilizing a product like this. It's totally a unique product. How I said it's absolutely underutilized, because I bet many of us don't think of that one to go and grab that off the shelf. Here's a really great therapeutic protocol. A movie star, won't mention his name, bitten by a brown recluse spider. Tissue necrosis set in. Despite the most expensive medical care, the hole was getting bigger. Mixed dysmuzyme granules, big jar, mixed them into a paste with our liquid iodine, applied with sterile gauze, cleaned up in a week, no scar. All that antioxidant activity from the SOD and catalase. And then on top of it, the liquid iodine, antiviral, antibacterial, antifungal, applied to that area. All right, so let's wrap it up with a couple more slides. I always share this one because I love this presentation that Dr. Vasquez did for looking at biochemical processes of pain and inflammation, because we are very familiar now from the news about cytokines and cytokine storms and inflammation, brain inflammation, post-viral brain fog. But wherever it be, a shoulder, a knee, whatever's going on, it's these lifestyle choices over here. Remember I showed you those deep fried frozen Twinkies? That's the lifestyle choices in the left on the green here. Poor diet, stress, injury, leaky gut, activates NF-kappa B, creates all this cytokine storm, and leads to, on the right side, clinical manifestations of pain and inflammation and poor health. But look at the top. Look at, we talked about vitamin D, comes in and inhibits this NF-kappa B reaction. Now, obviously, you want to clean up the left column in the green there of whatever's going on. We talked about sympathetic, parasympathetic. Let's balance their stress. Fix their injury. Look at their poor diet. Look at their vitamin D deficiency, because vitamin D comes right in here and inhibits this. But so does kappa rest. And then you see all the other nutrients involved in helping these pathways. So here's the bonus product. We covered 5 of my top 10. Here's number, well, we'll call it 5.5. Kappa rest is, as a review, this is your NF-kappa B inhibitor, your pain formula. But when we inhibit NF-kappa B, We block viral replication. So we are decreasing the cytokine storm, but we're also decreasing viral replication. Again, think your EBV, your CMV, your unresolved viral cases, or people that are being chronically exposed to whatever's going on in our world. This is a wonderful option. All right, I think it's raffle time. I think the next slide's the raffle. So those of you that are, I want to be fair to everybody because there's a few that are so used to this, they get right in the chat box and they go, and they win every time. So, yep, there it is, raffle quiz. The first 3 to answer in the chat box get a bottle of the Thiamine 50. Metformin decreases ATP production by what percent? 15, 22, or 48? Jacqueline's in the chat box, taking down the answers. I'll tell you who won in just a second, okay? So you know that I'm legit and not just telling you I'm going to give you a prize and then I don't. So again, thank you for taking the time today. I am right on time. Well, a minute over. Okay, I'm going to check my chat box, I was told. Ashley, Allie, and Chris, you won a Thiamine 50. Next February, or coming up, this coming February, will be my next Daniel's Downloads on my next 5 products that I'm excited to share with you. As always, I appreciate you taking the time to listen in. And I will go through the chat box, but I will stop the recording now.